Hello and welcome to Open All Hours, the QPR podcast. I'm David Fraser. We are back after an international break, 2-week break, which seemed like ages. There's only 3 of us here tonight. Good news, everyone. Good news. Finney's not here. No, a bit unkind. Finney's not here, but we will be hearing from him. More of that later. Here with Chris Charles.
Hello.
Been with us throughout our 7 years. We're 7 years, something like that. Something like that.
Do an itch.
Making his first appearance, and our very special guest, and we're very pleased to have him, is actor and QPR fan Paul Bullion.
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Good to have you.
Paul.
Thanks for having me on.
Right, before we start everything, just let me do what I usually do at the start of the podcast, which is remind you how you can keep in touch with us. You can follow us on Twitter at QPR Pod. You can click on us on Facebook. I was searching for the words. Look for the new QPR podcast, even though we're not new anymore. And you can listen to all our old episodes at qprpod.co.uk. Thank you very much to Martin Beattie, who has bought the beers tonight. We have a selection here that you gentlemen can see of ciders in Finney's honour, because he didn't quite make it, but we might make our way through them, and various others. If anyone else wants to buy us a beer, please do, because it all helps towards our running costs, and you can do that on our website. Right, that's enough for now. As I said, we don't have Finney here because he couldn't make it, thanks to a plumber, thanks to a
flood, wasn't it?
Floods,
Yeah.
a train, and we've got loads to get through, and we want to hear. We've got loads to ask Paul about, but we should probably start where we usually start, which is on the review of the last game. Now, Finney was there, so through the magic of telephony, which isn't that magic, it's been around 100 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Here he is now. Hi, Paul. It's quiet without you here.
I know you're missing me, really.
So, shame you couldn't make it.
It is.
Yeah, gut-wrenching for you.
We've got 2 ciders here for you, and you got a real easy draw in the World Cup today as well, which we could have spoken to you about.
Listen, big man, we got beat by Luxembourg 3 or 4 years ago, so there's nothing for granted. And by the way, the prices to flip in Switzerland are horrendous. Listen to this, before the draw, after the draw, 300 quid. It is scandalous. So if there's any airline pilots are busy on Sunday the 12th and Monday the 13th and they fancy giving us a lift, I'll gladly plug them on the podcast.
Can you get Collins, your mate at Collins Motors, to give you a lift over there?
That could do. Hey, let's not be giving free plugs away, Chris.
No. Paul, you went on Saturday. Tell us about Saturday.
Well, it's one of them things, isn't it? It's a lovely trip. I went with some fellas who were nice guys, and we all went up there. It was all good spirits, and then the football kind of ruins it a bit. But if I'm being honest, we played reasonably well. We didn't take our chances. We should have had a penalty. Ian Holloway said that they had a lucky shot that brought them back into the game. But to be fair, Sunderland were a bit like a punch-drunk boxer. They just couldn't. They were there for the taking, and they just couldn't connect. I mean, one stage they took a free kick between 10 yards of each other, and the ball went out for throw-in. They are absolutely abysmal. And I guess we haven't won away since February, and they haven't won at home for 10 months. So it was always going to be a draw, I guess.
I wasn't there, and having read all the reports, I get a real mixed. It's a real mixed bag. I can't quite work out if we were good and it was kind of a satisfactory performance and point, and we would have dropped these points a few months ago, or whether Sunderland are kind of a terrible team on a terrible run, and really we should have done a lot better.
Well, listen, we said at the start of the season, didn't we? No matter who you play or what position they're in, anything away from home's a bonus. And that's how we've got to treat this season and just get our home matches. The problem will be if we don't pick up anything at home and we start losing don't pick up much at home and still not pick up things away from home, then we could be in a bit of a situation. But, you got to take what you can. But yeah, Sunderland's second from bottom. They were pretty abysmal. Our midfield is still superb. It's just up front. I mean, Silla actually played well. He held the ball up well. He won all the headers. But it was a game that was crying out, surprisingly, for Matt Smith, because we were killing him in the air, and yet we didn't play him.
He missed an absolute sitter, didn't he, Silla?
He did, but then, all strikers do, and you've got to get around that. I mean, you talk about sitters, that their player was practically in the goal line. He put it past the post for one of their shots. It was terrible from 10 yards and deadly from 30 yards, that wee bugger. But it's just listen, Dave, it's one of them things, sometimes, do you know what I said the other week? I think we are sometimes down talking who we are. I'm looking at that table, I'm looking at Sheffield United, I'm thinking, we could do this, but maybe we're just down talking ourselves too much, and we just need to have be a bit more positive about ourselves, because Washington came on again. He took the ball down well. He did a few nice things, but his confidence is going to pot now. I don't know what's going to happen there.
I think that's true about being positive, definitely. What was the atmosphere like? Sorry to butt in there. What was the atmosphere like at Stadium of Light? It seemed dead from what I saw on the highlights.
There was people complaining about the noise from the local graveyard.
We sounded loud. When Silla scored, we sounded loud for, what was it, 600, 700 fans?
650.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere, I mean, the Rangers fans were superb as usual, but you expect that, and, our support away from home, it's probably the best I've seen this season away from home, support-wise. They just, I mean, to think they were in the Premiership last season, and they were just on their knees. I mean, they just like a club that's had the lifeblood sucked out of them and just want to get sold as soon as possible, and they're the right old mess. I mean, I'd rather they were a mess and we got the 3 points and come back at 1 point. But yeah, do you know what the thing is, Paul? The worry of that is where everyone talks about these new grounds and 50,000 and 30,000. Sunderland's a prime example of if you don't stay in the Premier League, what that turns into, and it's horrible.
Yeah, well, I call them sleeper fans, and it does wind me up about fans that kind of abandon their club when they're not in the top tier, when they need them the most, and I think that's a prime example, and it's a real shame because you're only as big as your fan base. Really, it doesn't matter how big your stadium is if you can't fill it, then it's a complete waste.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, it's a worry that when you don't, like Loftus Road is buzzing. Let's face it, we can have a Loftus Road 3/4 full and we can make it buzz. Yeah. And these big grounds, it does. You're right. Once you drop out of the Premier League, your support goes to pot. You don't win for a while. It's 10 times as hard. And the fans were on their back from the first minute as well. I mean, people moan about our fans, but they were practically booing from the goal kick. The fans were good away. I mean, Bolton's been massive on Saturday, and they've got that win now, which I suppose is a QPR fan would pleased because, like Saturday, you're fearing that they haven't won for 10 months. Here we come, and we should be a registered charity.
But do you not think that is exactly what would have happened to the old QPR at Sunderland on Saturday? They were desperate for a win. They hadn't won in a little while. The old QPR would have rolled over for them and given them their first win in a little bit, and we didn't.
No, let's not forget.
We didn't. And that's the main thing, Bolton's going to be a big test Saturday because they could be a different side now. They've got a home win. And we're going to need to be on our game. But we just need to start picking up a wee bit more away from home. But I'll be honest with you, the next 2 home games scare me a little bit. Wolves and Sheffield United. If we don't get anything Bolton and we don't get anything them two, then, the people are going to say that Bolton are turning, the fans are turning. And we're back into a situation where everyone's sort of looking at each other, not knowing what's going on. We need some positivity out of the club. We need to do something. And the board need to stick by the manager.
We need a win.
Yeah. Well, you said David said Silla missed that chance, but at least he's getting in the right areas to knock him in. And as I said last week, I think it's a good thing that he's going to get a run of games starting lineup. I guess it's just who's alongside him. There's a lot of people saying Washington should have started alongside him instead of Mackie. Some people like yourself saying Smith should have been.
Were the people who said Washington should start called Paul Finney?
Listen, if you get me tickets for bleeding Switzerland, you can start every. No, not really.
Finn, we're going to cut you off in a minute. So, what else do you want to talk about?
No. I'm just wondering what you guys think about all this managerial shenanigans that's going on in the papers. I mean, I know it's the paper that no one should take any notice of, but what did you think, Chris?
What do I think? Well, I mean, Tony Fernandes came out with that tweet, didn't he, and basically rubbished the whole thing. But interesting that
which usually in football, it means it's true.
Yeah. Well, I think he did something similar with Jimmy Floyd, and look how that ended. But yeah. I think he genuinely does like Ollie. And from my point of view, I know, somebody put on Twitter about games given. Hughes got 32, Ramsey 30, Hasselbank 38, Holloway's already got 45. But I think the difference is that under Hasselbank, we were sort of falling asleep in the stands because the football was so dire. But at least, I mean, we've got, like you said earlier, we've got a bit more spirit about us. We're not giving up on games. We're playing some half decent football at times, and there's some green shoots coming through. If you look at the under 23s, they're going great guns at the moment. So I think there's a lot to be positive about, and I wouldn't be worried just yet. But as you said, if that horrific scenario comes to boot when we lose to Bolton and then don't get anything out of Sheffield United and Wolves, then...
And then, sorry to repeat myself from 2 weeks ago, but we then have Nottingham Forest away on November the 4th, which is the day we fired the last two managers.
It would be madness.
I think November the 4th and November the 5th.
I was going to jump in and say it would be madness if we got rid of Holloway. You can't. I think you can't keep just getting rid of managers and expect things to just change. I think we need to stick with Holloway for the rest of the season and see what happens.
Will you be saying that though if we lose to Bolton, lose to Wolves, lose to Sheffield United, lose to Nottingham
I don't
Forest?
think we will. I don't think we will. I think from those games we'll get at least 6 points.
Wow.
Okay.
The danger is, as Chris quite rightly pointed out, our squad on the programme is huge. And you keep sacking managers, what you get is somebody else's squad every time, and you get more players you can get rid of, and then some more players you can't get rid of. You know what I mean? So we've got to stop this manager change because it's not working, and we're just getting bigger squads, in my opinion. But
absolutely,
it's where the board will have the guts to take buy-in. Should he go on a dodgy run and lose 6 again in Spain and then not get out of it? That would be the telling side, and we've got no power over that because. But one thing is positive is young Smith and Wheeler do seem like potentially good signings for the club. I'm just wondering whether we should give them and that wee fella at Wickham. And what a goal he scored for crying out loud!
Yeah,
for a striker.
Yeah, well, he scored 2 decent goals in that game, and yeah, Paul Smith. He apparently ran the show in the second half. It was a bizarre game at Charlton, 3-0 down, came back and won 5-4. Shadipo got a hat trick. Despite the fact he got a hat-trick, everyone who was there said it was Smith who was the man of the match, which is quite telling.
So perhaps those green shoots are there, Chris. We're just going to be a bit more hopeful.
I think so. I mean, the thing is, we have blooded a few of the younger guys, and they seem to have done all right. And maybe, I know Shadipo's been injured, but maybe it's time to get him involved back in the squad again. I'm not too disconsolate yet, but like you say, ask me on November the 5th. I might have a different view.
Now, Paul.
Remember the 5th of November.
Now, Paul, we, as everybody knows, we finish off the show with the R's End, and you otherwise known as bedtime hour when we hand over to you. And we're not going to have you here tonight for that. So, is there anything you would like to say?
Anything at all?
Right, pop the kettle on.
No. To be honest, I'm kind of, I'm lost for words. I don't know.
That'll do.
Yeah.
I'm just pleased the away support was so good on Saturday. I'm pleased God everyone will get down to Bolton next Saturday and make it a wee bit noisy and get back to lads because it's going to be a hard old month for us. And I won't be this week. So no R's End or no Meeks. I'll be in Madrid for my daughter's 16th birthday.
Fantastic.
Happy birthday, Lily.
Are you going to watch a game?
Well, she wanted a party with wrecked the bloody house, so it was cheap to take it to Madrid and we keep the house.
All right. Cheers, Paul. Sorry you couldn't make it.
I bet you. Sorry I didn't meet you all, Paul, but...
No worries, man. We'll go for a pint.
And see you guys later.
All right, take care,
cheers,
man.
Paul.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Have a good one. See you, mate. Bye.
We're almost giving him guest status, aren't we? Not sure how I feel about that. There you go. Anyway, okay, Paul.
Hello.
Right, so what is a nice actor like you doing supporting QPR?
Some people would call it child abuse. I, from a very young age, I think one of the first photographs that my parents have of me is in a blue and white striped baby grow, and my dad would not have had it any other way.
Was it a coincidence, or it was like the reference was QPR?
Oh,
Because
no,
I imagine in those days they probably weren't that forward thinking in terms of merchandise.
No, yeah, I think my dad found a blue and white striped one and was like, okay, that's close enough to QPR. And
so you grew up where?
I grew up in Milton Keynes. My dad moved there when his factory, he was working for Mercedes-Benz in Hayes, and his warehouse moved to Milton Keynes like so many did. And I was born there, and I moved back to West London, actually, to Acton when I went to drama school in Chiswick. Couldn't afford to live in Chiswick, so I lived in Acton instead. And I used to go and walk to the midweek games. I think at the time, so I was a student in 2007, I used to be able to pick up a student ticket for a tenner.
Okay.
So, yeah, I used to go and do that quite a lot.
So 2007, we would have been Championship.
Championship. Yeah. Championship was most of my childhood really, or Division 1, Nationwide Division 1, all that. But yeah, like you can see I'm wearing the JD Sports kit, which is what I call my QPR romance kit. It's when I was 14, 15, and you're talking about your furlongs and your gallons. That was for me, where you're fully in love with your squad and your club, and this is my special top.
So that was early 2000s. Were you at Cardiff? Playoff final?
I wasn't at the playoff final. My cousins and my uncles were. I think I was in rehearsals for a local production of West Side Story. But I remember running home and catching the second half and crying when Campbell, in his oversized top, as was the fashion, put it just under the bar, and I cried, and I think my mum was just laughing at me in the front room.
You over Tommy Williams not squaring it to Furlong yet? None of us
doesn't sound like it.
No. I think I'll choose to block it out.
Were you at Wembley 2014? It was 2014, wasn't it?
You're going to hate me.
Okay. No, we get a few of you guys on performers and so on. It's difficult to get to games.
It was a good reason why I wasn't. I was cycling to Glasgow for charity to raise money for our ambulance. So I was cycling from London to Glasgow, and I was doing it over the bank holiday weekend, being when the playoff final fell, and I managed to clear Derby just before kick-off. So I was just north of Derby, and was jumping around this sports bar that I found, and it was nice. They did a whip around for the charity because they could see that I was knackered. And I think on the first day I cycled to Manchester, so I got there within like 18 hours on day one, 18 hours of cycling, and they did a whip around for me in the pub after Zamora scored that very memorable historic goal, and had all this change that I had to get on my bike, so they changed it up.
Did you have to cycle after it? Straight
away?
Yeah,
I did straight after. Yeah. So I think I had about another 90 miles or something.
90.
Yeah.
So at what point could you finally have a pint to celebrate?
I had, it was, I had dead legs, they were like lead, and I was in a travel lodge in Manchester with my bike covered in mud.
Glamorous.
It was glamorous. It was, we lived the high life. But that was at the point, I think, actually, just after I finished filming Peaky Blinders, which for me was, if you like, the job that changed things a little bit for me. It was a great day. It was a great day for me. When Zamora scored that, and I made it to Manchester and was still alive.
Well, I was going to ask you about Peaky Blinders, because you've done loads of stuff.
I've done a few things.
You've actually. You weren't in loads of episodes.
No, half a series, I think. Yeah.
But it's sort of the role that you're. It's almost the prefix to your name these days.
Yeah,
massive show, massive hit to be part of, right?
I think they really went for it.
Changed everything.
Yeah, they went for it in series 1 and series 2. Obviously, they the cast was amazing as it was, and then they managed to get people like Tom Hardy involved. And for me, that was my first kind of what you'd consider a principal role in a TV show. I had no idea who was going to be opposite me, and there was all the scenes of confrontation with Alfie Solomons, and I remember ringing my agent at the time.
He's the fella who killed you.
Yeah,
spoiler.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And I rang my agent. I said, do you know who's playing Alfie Solomons? I've just reading the script. There's quite a few scenes with him, and she was like, "Oh, it's been released. It's Tom Hardy." I was like, "Oh, okay." That's
because he's a West London boy, isn't he? He's born in Hammersmith, but I don't think he's a football fan.
He lives in Richmond. No, he's not. I don't think he is a football fan. No, I know Joe Cole. Who plays John Shelby? He's a West Ham fan.
Me too.
Or known on social media as the other Joe Cole. But he's a West Ham fan, and his brother Finn, who plays Michael Shelby, is a Manchester United fan. I didn't really have a... But I do know the first AD on Series 2 was a fellow QPR fan. So cool. We had a lot to talk about. Yeah.
So how with the actors who are playing the main roles, if you like, are they? How do they sort of get involved with everybody else, or are they just off in the trailer? I mean, I know
absolutely. That's the great thing about a show like that is the reason why it does so well is because everybody just mucks in. Everybody's just up for everything, and they're long days, long night shoots. Sometimes you're on location a lot of the time. You just pull together and do it, and there's no hierarchy. No one's precious, and that's why they are top of their game, because they don't take themselves seriously in that manner. They take the work very seriously, not themselves.
So most, if not all, of your for people who don't know the
Peaky
show,
Blinders, you're actually a fan, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I was just about to say Twin Peaks. Then that would have been a different show altogether, but. Most of your scenes, if not all, are filmed in the bakery in Camden Town. Yeah. So where is that? Is that
Liverpool?
Oh, really?
So
you were Billy Kitchen.
I was Billy Kitchen. Billy Kitchen. Head of the Black Country gang, they film in Liverpool like most dramas set around that time, because London is it's a logistical nightmare for one, but it's overdeveloped, and same as Birmingham, you can't film something set in Birmingham in the 1920s with the backdrop of the bull ring, as amazing as it is. But so they do some stuff at the Black Country Museum, and they do some of the other shots in Manchester. We did some around Bolton for the exterior of Eden nightclub and things like that. But Liverpool mainly down on the docks, and they transformed it to look like Camden Town.
It did look like Camden Town as well.
Very, very clever. The art department are just incredible. They are unsung heroes of TV and film, because they can transform anything. It's amazing. And they work tirelessly through the night.
Two more quick Peaky Blinders questions.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you get the role? And secondly, at what point did you know you were going to be killed 3 or 4 episodes?
This is what a lot of people ask me, and it's quite funny. Very much, and still am a jobbing actor. I go for things that I'm passionate about. But I was on the way to see my friends play, and I cycle all over London. I was on my bike, and I was living in North London at the time. I was cycling down through Archway, that really steep hill down into Archway, and my phone was buzzing in my back pocket, and it's either at the time it was going to be my girlfriend or my agent, and I pulled over, and it was my agent, and she said, "You've got an audition tomorrow morning for Peaky Blinders, and you've got to do a Black Country accent." I was like, brilliant, okay, thank you. Always grateful for the audition and the opportunity. So I had to call my friend and said, "Really sorry, mate, I've got this audition come through, and I've got to learn this Black Country accent," and the script and stuff. It was fine, completely understand. So I went home, and I've got a dialect coach who works she did work at the time for Birmingham School of Acting, and I Skyped her, and she took me through the script and broke it down phonetically. And I remember a few months before, I'd just finished filming Jamaica Inn for the BBC, and the fight director on that said, "Oh, you'd be great in Peaky." So I'd heard of the show, but I hadn't watched it. So anyway, I was reading through, and this character was really ballsy and great, and I really fell in love with the character. And I went in, and I met Colin McCarthy, great director, and Shaheen Baig, the casting director, and her assistant, and I remember the first reading. I think my accent was somewhere between Irish and and Scouse. And but I kept focusing on it, and we did a couple of takes, and then I think 2 weeks later I got a recall. I thought I hadn't got the part, but then I got a recall to go in the next day, and they changed a bit of the script, and I went in, and there was no way I was going to let anything kind of stop me. So I stayed up tirelessly and nailed the accent, and went in and made sure that I made a good account for myself. And then he said, the column was saying, we need to make a decision pretty quickly because we're on set next week. Can I just ask you not to shave just in case? So I was like, oh. So I rang my agent, and my agent was saying, okay, that's really unfair if they don't give you the part now and they've asked you not to shave. So I remember I was waiting by my phone for a couple of days.
That's a good sign,
yeah,
right?
It was a good sign, but you're not guaranteed anything till you sign the contract. And so I got a phone call saying they're going to offer you the part, and and you're going to be start filming next week. And I just remember just absolutely buzzing. And then in terms of the read through, all my mates were going down for a surfing holiday in Devon, and the read-through fell on the first day of the holiday. So I went along to the read-through, and Paul Anderson, who plays Arthur Shelby, came up to me, and he was like, "Oh, nice to meet you, playing Billy Kitchen." I was like, "Yeah, nice to meet you. Enjoy your performance in the show," because by this point I'd obviously caught up and made sure I knew what was going on. And he said, "Oh, episode 5. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to film that." And I was like, "Oh, I've only got up to episode 4. What happens?" Oh. And his face just went blank. He went, just read it. Just read it. And, so I was going through.
Presumably, this is where things came a cropper for Billy Kitchen.
You can't film a show like Peaky Blinders and not kill off a kind of a character that's quite ballsy. You need to shock the audience, and I think they built the character up to such a point that he was going to be a danger. So to do what they did it had to be done, I think, and I don't think they were going to kill any of the Shelby brothers. So
we will get back to QPR very shortly. Yeah. So this show, for anybody that doesn't know, is a hit. This is not a small-time UK-based show. This went massive in America.
It snowballed very quickly.
David Beckham said he wanted to be in it. Yeah. I saw that Pink, the singer Pink, was asked to have a cameo in it, and all sorts. So this was a hit. So overnight, I'm asking you, this must have made a massive difference to you, kind of almost as soon as it went out, right?
In terms of, because I'm from a musical theatre background, I started, my first ever job was Monty Python's Spamalot. So I toured the country doing the Holy Grail, essentially, on stage. And I always kind of, in the background, was doing student films. And I got my opportunity. I got a little show reel together, and then it was just throwing down a marker to show that I was able to do TV. So I think more auditions came after that. Wasn't guaranteed anything. I did, get another couple of jobs after that. Continued to audition, but I'm very fortunate that I got the opportunity to do that. And even if it did last for half a series, the people I was working with was amazing. So
and you got recognised in New York, is that right?
Yeah, New York, I went for a trip in 2015 just for a few days. I've never been to New York. But Netflix, American Netflix gets Peaky before British Netflix to do with the licensing. It's massive over there, like most kind of period dramas, because they're obsessed with kind of British culture. You think about Downton Abbey, and it's a similar time to that, and so Peaky Blinders was big, and because of the actors they had in it, it was I got stopped for a couple of photographs, and they bought me a couple of drinks, which was nice.
And what are you up to these days?
I'm going back up to Manchester beginning of next month to finish a short film that I started doing in February.
It sounds like a long film.
I started in February, but we had to postpone shooting because basically the floodlights broke halfway through a night shoot. So and then by the time everyone was available again, all the trees had got their leaves back and they needed to be bare. So for continuity reasons, we have to go back in the winter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's not. So it wasn't as simple as just like picking it up. Then next day we had to make sure everyone, all the the camera operators and the ADs and everyone were still available. So we're available now. So we're doing it at the beginning of November.
Let's talk about QPR.
Yep.
You played in the Grenfell game.
Yes.
Which must have been an experience.
It
and
was
a half.
overwhelming for so many reasons. Yeah, so many reasons.
Tell us about it.
So Ian Taylor contacted me saying that he's organising, or he's 90% certain that it's going ahead for a charity game for the Grenfell survivors. I didn't even have to think. I said, absolutely, I'm in. Don't have to ask twice. I'm definitely up for that. And I thought in my head it was going to be down at Westway or something, like just a kick around down at Westway on the 8-a-side or something. As you know, but I just didn't know the scale of it. I didn't know why they were asking me to play really. And he was like, "Oh no, it's going to be at Loftus Road." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then I saw the press release, and it was like Team Shearer versus Team Ferdinand. I was like, "Oh, okay, right." And then I realised, what a big deal it was, and I just felt so fortunate to be there, and it was an incredible day, very humbling to hear so many stories. And accounts of what happened that day, and just play a tiny part in that, and then obviously coupled with playing in a QPR shirt for my club, which was once in a lifetime experience for somebody that's not a footballer.
Do you know who bought your shirt?
Yes, I do actually. I'll tell you why, because my friend came to watch the game. I'm giving him a shout. His name's James. He came to watch the game, and he thought that he'd just be able to go on and buy the shirt, as I thought anybody would, because I didn't think people would be bidding on it. But it got 32 bids in the end. It got to like £60, and then my mate was like, "Oh, I can't let his shirt go." So my mate started bidding on it, and he was going to give it to me for Christmas. And then I met him the other day for dinner, and he was like, "I've got something to tell you." I was like, "What?" He goes, "I've just won your shirt in the eBay auction." So I was like, "Oh mate, amazing." He was like, "I was going to give it to you for Christmas, but I don't think I can keep it a secret," because he knew what a big day it was for me. And I was like, "Okay," but he said he's going to get it framed for me and stuff. And I was like, "Such a nice thing," and it's for a good cause as well. And
absolutely.
And I was like, it was just amazing that he wanted to pay 90 quid for a sweaty shirt.
and I can't remember. Were you on Team Shearer?
I was on Team Shearer, yeah, which was it was great. It was obviously amazing. Like Team Shearer, and I got to play with Trev Sinclair's one of my boyhood heroes.
Yeah.
For QPR, and that was amazing. It was just like
So your goalie was Jose Mourinho
for a bit of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's such a nice guy. I'll tell you what, he plays that character so well, and I mean that in that sense. Like, he is genuinely a lovely
You think
man.
it's an act?
I think so. Like, because he was so nice. Like, he was so nice, and the Premier League football needs characters like he portrays. He's not a grumpy man. He's a passionate man. He loves the game, but he is very dry humoured, and the game kind of needs that. If he was how a lot of people perceive him, you wouldn't get all the pundits on Match of the Day laughing after every interview.
Yeah,
because they know him, and they know that he's an hilarious character, and he does play that character very, very well.
No, I'm 100% with you. He loves the role of the pantomime villain, and like you say, my biggest bugbear was that he was Chelsea manager, because I did actually like the bloke, and it was quite difficult to like the bloke who's the Chelsea manager.
You know what? I don't recall. You can correct me. I don't recall so many other West representatives of West London and West London football being there that day. I know he's United now, but he is of course linked with Chelsea.
Yeah,
and he has a connection to West London and the area, and presumably that's a big part of the reason why he wanted to be there. And I don't really remember anyone sort of Chelsea or...
Well, it depends if they were asked. I mean, I don't know if he was asked or whether he volunteered, but what I did hear from somebody was that he didn't just rock up in a helicopter at 5 to 3. He was there the whole day, helping out behind stage, chatting around.
Yeah, he was in the room. He walked around and introduced himself to every single person in both dressing rooms. He shook everyone's hand, and there is something about him. You know, he really is the special one. As soon as he walks in the room, you know he's there.
Yeah.
And there is something about him. I don't know what it is. Shearer had the same thing. I think that's just because, like, when I was a kid, obviously he was the most expensive player, and just incredible. But then Mourinho walked in. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, that hefty 15 million.
That hefty 15 million.
15 million. I remember when he was the most expensive player at 3.2 million.
Yeah.
Going from Southampton to Blackburn.
Yeah, absolutely, and he won with that was amazing because Sutton was also playing.
Chris Sutton.
Yeah, and obviously they won the Premier League together. So it was like,
right.
yeah,
SAS.
I was like making all these links.
SAS.
Yeah, I was making all these
probably
links.
us in about 4 weeks.
Yeah. And how often do you get down to QPR?
I say obviously because of what I do, I can't commit to a season ticket, but I'll go to about 6 to 8 home games a season, and then a couple of away games.
What game have you been to recently? You've been down there yet?
Last game I went to the QPR Fulham, and yeah, we 2-1. But we could have snatched a draw quite easily. Could have snatched a win, like the amount of chances we had.
Yeah.
I was going to say that Freeman. I just read this stat online. He's had the most assists in the Championship this season. Is that right?
We'll give it to you without. Yeah, I think so. Do we know? I don't know off the top of my head. We're supposed to know these things. Yes, I'll say with conviction. Yes, he definitely has.
I'm pretty sure I read it on the. Well, it must be true because it's on the QPR Twitter page. But he's got the most assists in the Sky Bet Championship this season.
Wow. Favourite current player and favourite all-time player.
Favourite current player, I'd have to say Freeman. I think his commitment to the club is amazing, and it just goes to show you don't have to splash out loads of money. You just have to give somebody their opportunity at a high level, and that's what we need to do moving forward. Because I don't think anybody at QPR should be on the kind of wages that were being paid in the Premier League, and that's just because money can't buy you loyalty. You need to give people their opportunity, and they'll thank you for it in abundance. And all-time player, that's a tough one. I mean, Sinclair, because I met him, and all I ever talked about when I was a kid was the goal, the FA Cup goal, the bicycle kick. And I met him, and he was just genuinely the most kind of nice professional guy that I've met. So he didn't disappoint at all. A close second would be current number 2, Mark Bircham, just because that man would bleed blue and white if you cut him open.
Yeah.
Can't knock that.
Good answers.
Can't knock that. You look like you're about to say something, Chris.
No, not particularly. No, you carry on.
No.
Carry on.
I suppose we're at the hour's end.
Suppose we are.
We're at kind of 40 minutes, and we've gone through loads, and then we've got to sort of give our predictions for the Bolton game. So, I'll tell you what we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the report in The Sun about Ollie, Ian Holloway, the manager, reportedly his position being considered. I know we touched on it when we spoke to Paul earlier.
Yeah.
Furiously denied by the club, as these things happen. We're told no truth in it. Chris, you're a journalist.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm more of a sort of I'm a journalist at heart. Let's put it that way. Yeah, that's what my trained profession is.
Isn't that what pays your wages and mortgage and all the rest of it?
I'm not going to go into my role, slightly different now, but it's very boring. No one wants to hear that. I don't know. The only thing that would have some sort of credence to it is the fact that Kenny Jackett's name is mentioned. I mean, that's not just plucked from the sky. I mean, that Kenny Jackett's. A few QPR fans in the past have said they wouldn't mind Kenny Jackett. He's currently at Portsmouth, I believe.
With Joe Gallen. I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tony Fernandes, as I said earlier, he's denied it, but of course he's going to deny it. And I do think he genuinely likes Holly. And as I said last week or the week before when we were on, I do think that appointment was more Tony Fernandes than Les Ferdinand. I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
I think there's no truth in it at the moment, but
I don't want there to be truth in it.
We've got all these fixtures coming up.
I don't want Holloway to not be given the rest of the season and maybe beyond. We've got stability. He's made some sensible signings, like really sensible signings. Okay, we're not putting the goals away, but I don't think the players are going to grow in confidence by the fans always going on about Washington not delivering, and if you give them a run of games, they will be confident and they will repay you. I think they need to be given that opportunity. Definitely.
Have Sunbet got a market running on this?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. And if Kenny Jackett was the favourite.
Well, one thing I did notice was the journalist who wrote the piece, it doesn't do a QPR beat. He never really writes about QPR.
Really?
So it's not necessarily somebody that's massively informed on QPR. It's somebody that thinks they've got a tip from somewhere. So I highly doubt its accuracy.
Would you want Holloway to go?
No,
me neither. No,
because we've said this for years. The problem isn't really the manager. The problems that have been are not due to a manager.
No.
They're due to the infrastructure, the way that the club has been run. Everything is pointing in the right direction. It still needs time.
I would like him to get Les out of his suit now and again and come and maybe he does and come and get his tracksuit on and work with his strikers.
I'd like him to not change the lineup so often.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't at the start of the season.
He overdoes that.
Last season he was very guilty of that, and the start of this season he was actually going really well. But yeah, recently
I don't think he knows his best 11.
No, and unfortunately, when he's shorn of some of his best players, i.e. Grant Hall, which is really who he built his system around, then he starts to put square pegs in round holes.
You can't build your system around one player at this level.
No.
Okay, if you're Real Madrid...
We tried to do it with Cherry, didn't we, as well?
Well, exactly. We had... If you're Real Madrid or Barcelona, fine, you build it around your superstar player, but we're QPR and we have good, hard-working players. But we saw that last season. Jimmy Floyd-Hasselbank came on here, talked about building it around Charon Cherry. Neither of them are at the club anymore. R's End. Let's get on with the R's End, which is the bit at the end of the podcast, anything and everything that we haven't added yet. Let me start, so you have time to think about it. This is an appeal on behalf of our youngest regular listener. Do you know who I'm talking about?
George
Sharp. I think he's 9. He does listen to us every week.
George.
Hello, George.
And no swearing this week either.
No swearing
Despite having
this
a
week.
member of the Peaky Blinders cast who's said more swear words in 3 scenes than Paul Finney does in a normal podcast.
So George is a good lad. He listens to us. He's always keen, always kind of sends us messages, and he is running the Junior Great South Run this Saturday, the 21st of October. He's running for the QPR Trust, which is a worthy cause, of course, and we know all the hard work that they do. If anybody would like to sponsor George, the link is virginmoneygiving.com/George Sharp. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Good luck, George.
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay. Well, a couple of things about 2 living QPR legends, two legends of recent history. First, Adel Tarabt, who scored his first goal for 2.5 years at the weekend for Genoa.
No, I don't.
Really?
Hey, Genoa, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the guy. It was a really...
Who was it for?
Genoa.
No.
God. Very good.
Am I going to get past this? He was playing against Cagliari. Will that help? I'm sure you'll think of something. Calorie controlled diet.
Yes.
Okay. But I've just got to say, he's finally seems to have knuckled down. He did an interview a while ago saying that he's put all the past behind him. He's concentrating on his football now. And I think he's had the most dribbles in Serie A this season. He set up the first goal, scored a really good second goal. And that's such a shame he's not a QPR still, really.
Well, you're clever about football and you watch quite a lot of football and you work for BT, you screen all that. Is Serie A feels the right sort of league for him?
I think so, because when he had the cameo at AC Milan, I think he scored 7 goals in 12 or 13 games or something. And at the time, they were in a lot of dire straits. They couldn't afford to take him on for whatever reason. But it does feel like the right sort of fit. I mean, I know, invariably on the message boards, you get people come and say maybe he'll come back to QPR, but I don't think that's an option. That brings me to the second point, which was Charlie Austin.
I love that man.
Yeah, and again, this is
loan in January.
Yeah, this is
possibly.
We're 8-1 favourites to sign him on loan with Sky Bet. But again, realistically, I mean, he must be on.
It's worth 50p, isn't it?
Yeah, he must be on 80 grand, 100 grand a week. Do you think?
Maybe at Southampton. Money, won't he?
So, A, how are we going to afford that? B, there'll be a loan fee. And I mean, it's very romantic to think he'll be coming on and everyone's saying we're creating the chances he'd put them away. Of course he would. But realistically, I can't see any chance of that happening.
I'd rather have someone like Charlie Austin on loan for a bit more money than a Delta Rapt back on maybe less money, because let's not forget, as amazing, and I'm so thankful for that season, the few seasons that Delta Rapt played for us. Like, he really did do wonders, but he also did post a photo of him holding the Fulham shirt, saying how much he loved it, and that when he transferred to Fulham,
did he? I missed that.
Yeah, I thought he did. No, I think it was on Twitter. He was like, "I love the shirt," and I was like, "That's Fulham." That's Fulham.
So he's not. You prefer Charlie? I feel like with Charlie, it's a little bit of. I always get this word wrong. Unrequited love.
Yeah.
I feel like he is an absolute legend in our eyes, a god, and I feel like he did well here. I don't feel like he has a massive emotional pull back to QPR. I could be wrong. Probably more likely, if he's likely to return anywhere, it's probably to Burnley.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to drop down to the Championship for one.
I'd love him though.
Of course you would. Yeah. I mean, I'd like him and Adel Rabt and all the other decent players we've had over the years. But realistically,
no one romanticises about a QPR player like QPR fans do about Adel Rabt.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that was 6-7 years ago now.
The flow that he put into the team was unbelievable. Yeah. It really was. It was just like I say, I would take him back in the squad, but I just can't get the image of him in a Fulham top out of my head, and that's just me as a QPR fan. That's not like saying I really dislike the man. I'm just like, he did play for Fulham.
But the entertainment he gave us, particularly that season, 19 assists and however many goals, was just incredible. And I do feel blessed to have actually been there.
And a couple of bangers in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
And incredible. The goal against Fulham, the goal against Swansea, the assist for Routledge. I mean, you could just go on and on, couldn't you?
Okay. Paul.
Yes.
You get the final R's end. Which is any point about QPR that you've not brought up so far, or any point about anything?
We are 2 places higher than we were before the Sunderland game. So that's a positive thing. That's a positive thing. I think moving forward, bringing through a couple of the younger players would be great. I do think maybe a loan striker deal. As in getting a loan deal for a striker maybe in the January window might be an option. Of course, we can dream. Charlie Austin would, I think, be amazing just for the fans alone. I think that would bring back a lot of the positive feeling around the club anyway, but it would be amazing for the fans. I'm quietly confident we're going in the right direction.
Prediction for Bolton?
I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I'd like to snatch 2-1.
I'll go for us to win. And I actually am not saying that because I will never predict us to lose. I think we will win 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 as well. Chris?
I'm going to go a cautious 1-1.
Okay. This has been Open All Ours. We're recording on Tuesdays now, in case you haven't noticed, because you didn't get this podcast on a Tuesday. You got it on a Wednesday. We've moved to Tuesdays, apart from when we have a game on a Tuesday, and those weeks we will do a Monday night. Thank you very much for listening to us. We will be back next week. Paul, thank you very much for coming on. Please do come on again.
I will do.
Chris, thank you very much for coming on. This has been Open All Ours.
QPR, Brisbane Rangers are on the up and up. QPR.